Hello, welcome to our channel. My name is Anindya Sen, and we have a company called Purple Synapse, which is into network security, product development, cybersecurity research, and enablement of students for a cybersecurity career. And today we're going to talk about network security for dummies. Don't mind the term dummies. I myself am a dummy in many subjects. And a dummy, being a dummy always makes you absorb more information. The way we have broken up this presentation or this episode is that we have a part one where we talk about network, fundamentals of network without any technical jargon. And that's why it's called for dummies. And the takeaway from that, that you should be able to uh, go easily and understand the basic concept, and you can go easily absorb advanced topics. Okay. Now, uh, okay. So what are we on currently? We are on an information highway, right? Every day we are consuming huge amount of information, and that information is presented by one component and it's been consumed by one component, right? Like for the mobile phone or for that matter, the digital world, it's an information highway. Now you are riding smoothly on that information highway, knowing nothing about the highway itself, right? What secures the highway, what builds the highway, what's the infrastructure, how the crisscross happens, how the routing happens, how they don't clash with each other, and how you get a performance. So all these parameters, if you are not interested in, then this is not for you. It's for you if you are going to choose a career which involves in maintaining and architecting and conceiving and living this world of information security, information highway, where network security is a building block for that. Okay, and assuming that you really want to know about that, this lecture or this episode is on the basics of networking. Okay, now networks. What is the network? What do you do in your free time, or or for that matter, it's not only free time today, entire day? How do you consume your uh, how do you go about your life? You wake up in the morning, uh, take your mobile phone, the first thing, and then you see your WhatsApp messages, and then you see your social network. Then you go off to work, you see your mail, and then you can see your work related stuff. Then you come back home, and then you again see some apps, some Netflix and other stuff. If you're a student, you are doing an online class. So everything that you do is a consuming device, is consuming certain applications onto those devices. An ATM, a phone, right? Now, okay, what do they go through in order to present that information back to you? What is there in between? This is called a network cloud. So this network cloud is what we are going to learn, the components of this network cloud. What are the components of this network cloud? Okay. So the network cloud is a big deal. As you can see, not to scare you, but to tell you that what you are getting into. Okay. Okay. Sorry for the disturbance. Now, this network cloud is consisting of many devices, many concepts, many connections, and many configurations and many soft uh, concepts which are there. Now, this particular network cloud and securing the network cloud is what we are going to learn about step by step with real life examples only. We are not going to go technical in this lecture at all. And let's understand this now. Okay. Now, the takeaway from this lecture is that there are certain building blocks of the networking world. Okay. Number one is called the protocol, okay, which we are going to learn. Then using these protocols, what is the standard that is followed, organized worldwide in order to communicate between each other? Okay. And using those standards, what are the different basic components which help you communicate? Okay. And two important concepts called LAN and WAN, which we need to fundamentally understand. Now, these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 components, if you understand the concept, you should be able to then absorb the deeper level of knowledge into that. Okay. Now, let's fundamentally understand what a protocol is. Okay. Now, the English meaning of the word protocol, of course, you can absorb. It actually comes from that when two people of diverse culture and race and creed, where there's no common language between each other, which is part of this large crowd, wants to communicate to each other, we need to bring certain element among both of these so that they talk in a common language, right? The language is not common, but commonality has to be there. That commonality is what is called a protocol, which is understood by everybody everywhere. Okay, it's an understand and accepted way, a behavioral way. Okay, so this person is doing a namaste. Okay, which thankfully everybody understands across the world now in the post-COVID world, where it means greetings, right? So the greetings that you offer to this person. So when you do namaste, you don't have to speak any other language. It is accepted as a behavior of greetings. Okay, this is a protocol. Okay, so there are things like that. These are defined ways in which two entities communicate, two human beings communicate. Now, network security is an output of how humans have connected to each other, right? Network security did not come before people started communicating. So the ways and means in which people were communicating to each other were translated into technology and then into network security. Okay, so protocol by definition is what you understand. Protocol is a term that will come across very often. And if you understand this, what the protocol means, then every protocol you will be able to translate why it is called a protocol and what is the meaning and the reason for that. Okay. Now the entire concept we are going to understand to two stories. The story of John and Martha. John and Martha are two people who are there in an office. Uh, Martha is basically presenting a solution onto a client, John, and these two people are communicating, as you can see. That's called a local communication. And we are going to understand one of the concepts to John and Martha's story. And the other story is between these long distance lovers who are actually quite spread around. And one person's name is, of course, sorry for that. The one person's name is, of course, Yua, and the other person's name is Mark, and they have a long distance relationship. And we will see how they communicate with each other. And that will be the second part of the story. OK, all right, now let's see. OK, now first topic is OSI layer. Okay. OSI layer. Now, OSI layers are 7 layers which are defined. It's a defined framework when two computers talk to each other. Okay. Two technical entities talk to each other. Okay. So it's physical layer, data link layer, network, transport, session, presentation, application. Now, there are enough articles in the internet that you can look up to understand technically how that does mean. But why these layers are there and how they are relevant from a normal life standpoint. And as I told you that we will always derive network security from the normal life communication that happens. Okay, That is what we are going to explain here today. And then once you learn about this elsewhere, you will always be able to understand, because the fundamental meaning of this will be explained now. Okay, now we have to understand from the story of John and Martha. Okay, so John and Martha are talking to each other. Okay, they are having a conversation. Okay, now let's understand what in this entire aspect of a human to human conversation happening from the physical self of Martha uh, to uh, to John, and how they are able to communicate uh, using a physical self to end conversation. Okay. So we start at the conversation layer, which is the layer 7, which is the actual output, right? So Martha is basically communicating back certain information back to John and telling that, this is my presentation, this is my offer, and John is accepting that, and that's where I might tell the right name. Yeah, John and Martha, right? Sorry, yeah, right. Yeah. Okay, so layer 7 is that John and Martha is having the conversation. The conversation itself, the output is there in level 7. This is called layer 7. Okay, the output, the top layer, the output. Okay. Now the output is being presented in a certain manner, right? I have a presentation for the output. There's a look. There is a I have done my hair, and maybe I'm using a PowerPoint and stuff like that to communicate it down. But the way the data is presented so that John is able to absorb that information is called the presentation layer, or layer 6. Okay, good. Now let's go down. Now what's happening? They two are communicating. Okay. This person is, Martha is talking, John is listening. Okay. Now John is asking a question, Martha is listening. Suddenly John interrupts or Martha interrupts. Then somebody has to stop and then again resume, right? Now these two are having a session. The communication is having a session, right? In this session, certain things, certain to and fro has to be maintained. A session control. Okay, this session control happens to be at layer 5. So the conversation being presented in a session control, in a control session. Okay, so this is called a layer 5. Okay, so basically these three layers are where the communication is actually happening. Okay, and being controlled. Now we'll move into where from the communication is arriving from. Okay, and the building blocks of the communication back to the physical transmission of the communication. Okay, now let's go deeper. This communication is formed through certain building blocks, right? What is the building block? Words are the building blocks of the communication. Hand gestures are the building blocks of the communication. Depending on the language that you use, there are certain grammar that is being done. So this particular, where you have small segments of information, okay, and the way that segment of information goes to build the communication is the layer 4 of the OSI layer. Okay, now hand gestures are fine. Now, where to where are this information going from? The source and the destination, and vice versa, right? So this is John, this is Martha. Okay, so John and Martha entities who are communicating to each other. Okay, so this is at layer 3. Now we were talking about uh, the layer 3, where the names of the source and the destination of the conversation are defined. Okay, now where are these words coming from? How are these words getting generated, right? These words are getting generated from the vocal box, right? Or from that matter, there's a hand gesture which is happening, or the eyes which are receiving the information, the cornea, right? Which are basically translating the sensation that we have or the emotion that we have into physical things, voice or eyesight, okay? This is happening at the layer 2, okay? And the last, or rather the first layer, is the physical layer itself, which is transmitting the information between these two entities. How they are communicating? They're communicating by their voice, which is going from here to there. What is the medium which is taking the voice? The air itself. That's the medium. So the medium is at layer 3. The feel of the hand, the handshake, the medium. Okay. So medium, this fellow is translating back the information, the emotion into the information. This is the source and destination. This is the building block, the segments of the information, and the information itself in this different manner. This is the OSI layer. Okay. And I intend to do another small video in which you will have the OSI layer, this concept mapped to the actual hardcore network security technical way that we are talking about. Okay. Here we are not going to go into that. And this is where it stays. This is the OSI layer. And this is the story of John and Martha and why. So now you understand that these are the 7 layers which are existing in the human communication itself. This is translated back into network security communication that you understand technically. But this concept remains the same. These different entities in the different levels. Okay. Now, the second story. What is the name of the two people in this? Okay, Mark and Yua. Okay, all right. Okay. Now, Mark and Yua happen to live in 2 different countries. Okay, Yua is from Japan and Mark is from the United States, and Mark is in New York and Yoga is in Tokyo. Okay. Now they have been having a long relationship, love each other. They have not been able to meet each other for the last 2 years due to obvious reasons. Now she intends to go on a trip to visit Mark. Okay. Now this travel of Yoga to Mark is the communication that we are going to establish and understand how it happens. And if you can understand this, then you can understand the communication and network security that we talked about in the first slide itself. Okay, now, in order for her to go out, the first thing that she has to do is to hit the road. And how will she hit the road? She'll hit the road in a car in all probability, right? But she can also choose to hit the road on a lower cost vehicle, which is the cycle, right? Slower, but lower cost vehicle, which is the cycle. So faster vehicle she can take or the lower cost vehicle, right? Now, then she hits the road, right? The road is one road into another road, into another path, into another path. And then she goes and airport, right? Or the or something where you leave the country. It's the airport or the shipyard where the ships leave from. Okay, the dock, that can be the one, or the airport, right? She has to leave the country, right? There's a border. That's the border that you can see. The border. Okay. This is the border. Okay. Now, once she hits that, she now has 2 options, right? She can take a flight to go to New York. Of course, she's going to take a flight, but she also has the option of the low cost, but longer time ship. Okay. In that case, if this is the ship, the point will not be an airport, but it will be a dock or whatever you talk, say that. Okay. Now this is, do you understand this? How this person is going to reach this person? Okay. This is the fundamental way in which information goes from one place to the other. Simple. If you can understand this, you can understand any concept in network security or networking. Okay. So let us now talk about what it means in the network security world. Okay. Let's see this. Okay, now. This particular area where it's below this self, it's a local to Tokyo, right? This is called a local area network. Local area network. This is local. This is Tokyo itself, the city. Okay. This is local area network. Now, she has there is this, these are the different media for her. She actually is the data herself. She is the data. Now this data will go through, there's an option of going through a slow media or going through a faster media. Okay, the slow media, there are different medias which are there, right? The slow media is of course cheaper and the faster media is more expensive. Okay, and then she hits the road, crossroads, right? These crossroads are called switches. It's called switch. This is a switch in networking terminology. Okay. Now, what is a switch? How does it function? You are going to learn about it, but you have to understand the job of the switch. You can understand the job of the switch. Take the data from different roads through this. The media is carrying the data through these different roads onto this place, which is the airport, which is where the boundary is being crossed, country boundary, right? This is not local anymore. She has to cross the boundary. That is where the router comes in. The router, the routes between different boundaries, local to outside local, where you go to a wide area network. It's called a wide area network. Mind my handwriting, please. And there also you have a faster medium, you have a slower medium. And this is our destination. This is your source, Japan, and she herself is the data here. The source is Japan, destination is New York. So the data going through a media goes to a switch. The switch again connects back to the router, where it routes into a wide area network, which is the destination. If you can understand this, if you can consume this, then you understand 70% of the basics of network security. And then you go about, of course, learning the terminologies and the technical part of it, but the concept remains this. That when it translates back to the actual devices, this is the switch, which is connected by, in the local area network. It can be a wireless. It can be a switch. Can be medium. The media can be a wireless or a wired, and then it goes to a router and it goes to a WAN. Right? So this is this to this. This is the tech. Okay. Sorry for that again. Okay. Okay, now let's see. So you understand the concepts now, and you understand how this translates back to components in the real technical term of network security. Okay. And this LAN A goes to LAN B via all these routers. Router 1, router 2, router 3. So this is Tokyo Airport. This is Dubai Airport. This is New York Airport. This is the streets of New York. the streets of Tokyo, right? This is how communication happens. And this brings us to that old complex thing. I hope it doesn't sound so complex now, because this is your local area. This is the different routers. And this is your destination. This is your source. And this is how the medium is, slow medium, fast medium communicates source to destination. Okay, so this is all about the basics of networking. And I hope you liked it. And you can post all your questions for us. And we will have more videos coming up in this topic. But the understanding of the concept is very important for you to observe anything which is advanced. So all the best. Put questions. We'll get back to you. And do come back and join us for the next part of this presentation, which is around the security part of the network security world. Thank you very much.